Hey guys, welcome to the channel. How's it going? Today we are taking a look at Sam Burns' golf swing. If you aren't familiar with Sam Burns, he has been on a bit of a run lately, winning on the PGA Tour. Incredible young, talented player, hits the ball hard and hits it a long way, and this golf swing is a very modern golf swing, very rotational, so there's a lot of aspects that we can pick up on that could maybe help you improve your own golf swing or understand the golf swing in general and how things match up to deliver great results, because this guy is playing some seriously good golf. So let's dive in, guys. First of all, if you're new to the channel, thank you very much for clicking on this video, or anyone who has clicked on this video. Make sure you like it, subscribe, comment your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear what you have to think. And also let me know of any other content you want to see me make on this channel, any other golf swings you want to see me take a look at. So let's dive in. First of all, we have Sam Burns here set up with iron. So this is quite a very recent look at Sam Burns' golf swing. So here, let's just have a look at his setup quickly. He looks like quite a tall guy. I've not met him in person, but he looks pretty tall, very athletic. Good setup position. One thing I've personally been looking at in a lot of pros setups is that their hips are stacked over their ankles. A lot of us kind of amateurs and lesser, well, not as good golfers basically, we tend to sit our hips back behind our ankles and get a bit too much knee bend. But if you look at pretty much any professional golfer, their hips are almost directly stacked over their ankles. A little bit of knee bend, but not too much. And then this allows them to get their spine angle and chest much more over the golf ball, which is, well, great for a lot of reasons. So pretty neutral setup here. Good look, arms hanging down nicely. So he has, quite a lot of kind of wrist set already before he's really started the swing. I mean, kind of the angle between the club and the arms, and this is only going to increase as he starts to take the club away. Another player that does this is Keegan Bradley. Quite interesting. Most players have a bit less wrist set. Someone on the other side of the spectrum would be like Justin Thomas or Tiger, or really, I mean, most players are pretty neutral. But anyway, let's dive in and take a look at this golf swing. So as Sam takes the club back slowly, you can see that wrist set already increasing. The wrist set, if we pause the club parallel to the ground, you can see, if we compare this with like some of the other swings we've taken a look at, Tiger, Bryson, Rory, they have much later wrist set and they have much more of a kind of one-piece takeaway. And by that I mean Sam here has already started to move the hands and wrists and set the wrists quite early, and then that's going to enable him to turn around the body. It's kind of not really, there's two different ways to do it. Most players are on either side of the spectrum, quite late wrist set or quite early, and there's a good reason for that, which I'll explain in a second. As Sam slowly takes the club to the top, that wrist set actually isn't going to increase anymore. He just winds up the body. So at the top of the swing, if we pause it here, that wrist set has, from this angle, he actually doesn't have that much wrist set at the top of the swing. That club is well short of parallel, but he's got a huge shoulder turn, great coil up with the body. If we look at the lower body here, this is quite an extreme example because it might not look like he has a lot of kind of hip turn, but he actually has created a lot of coil, a lot of kind of pressure into the ground in his right leg, and we can see that by, if we look at his knees, both of his knees are still pointing forwards towards the golf ball. Personally, for me, something I've struggled with is when, and I see this with a lot of amateurs, when you take the club away and you get to the top of the backswing, we kind of sway with our knees. We turn with our legs instead of pivoting and using our hips and keeping more of a stable base. So one thing I always like to look at is that the knees are pointed forwards at the top of the backswing as much as they can be. And this is a very athletic motion here. We can see how much pressure is going into the ground there. at the top of the backswing, huge wide top of the backswing, which is kind of weird to think considering his takeaway was more narrow, wasn't very wide. He actually has a very wide top of the backswing, and he's going to keep it quite wide as he starts to swing down. If we also look at his right arm at the top, we can see that right arm, well, first of all, the right elbow isn't so tucked into the body. It's quite modern, this. He has the right elbow away from the body, and his right arm is much straighter than a lot of other players, which means he's going to be creating much more width. As we start to slowly swing down, we're going to notice this club shallows and drops as he really starts to turn the body hard. It's a very, very rotational golf swing, but we can see that his right elbow and stuff is moving back out in front of him, creating some space. If we pause it here parallel to the ground, that is a very, very modern golf swing, and that is a very athletic position to be in. We can see that right elbow very tucked into his side, very connected. Even though the right elbow was away from the body at the top, here it's much, much more connected. That club face matches, the angle of the club face matches his spine angle pretty well. Sam does like to hit more of a fade, by the way, so we are going to see him come down and kind of across the ball just a little bit, just hits a baby fade. But as he starts to slowly bring it into impact, we can see that he's really going to turn, and if we pause it, impact, that is quite a lot of rotation for what looks like probably a 7-iron, I would have to guess here he's hitting. That's a lot of rotation. Hips, chest, shoulders are open, obviously, to the target. And the most importantly, you can't create this much rotation unless you get the hands and your right elbow kind of back out in front of you. So what I mean by that is he's getting that elbow. If that elbow is still stuck behind here, this golf swing wouldn't work. Any golf swing wouldn't really work because you can't really turn from there. You're going to have to either come down steep over it or kind of early extend and come up out of it. But he's able to get that right elbow moving back in front of him as he rotates through onto the ball. As we slowly play it through, you can see exiting left, holding onto the club face, doesn't really release that club face, keeps the hands and arms nicely in front of the body as he comes through to a pretty balanced finish. And even at the finish, we can see how much shoulder turn he has through the ball, and that's because he doesn't have much release with the hands and arms. So now let's take a look at Sam's driver swing. This is, I mean, it's fairly similar, but it is a little bit different as well. There's a few other things to pick up on. First of all, if we look at setup position, we can see it's a much more exaggerated look at Sam's swing here. We can see how much more over the ball his spine angle is in comparison to some other players, but a lot of amateurs as well, but his hips are still very nicely stacked over his ankles. It looks like a very athletic position. We can see even a more exaggerated position of those wrists and arms, how there's more of an angle between the arms and the shaft of the club, and just indicating he already has more wrist set at the start of the swing. So as Sam slowly takes the club away, we're going to see big wind up with the body. If we pause it parallel to the ground, we can see it's pretty similar to the iron swing, how he's set the wrist quite early, and then as we slowly play it to the top, beautiful plane with the club here, and he's just going to hold on to that angle. If we pause it at the top, you know, again, not much wrist set because, you know, he's just held that angle, and that can be quite a good drill if you're struggling with your wrists in the golf swing, whether that's kind of releasing them too early or, you know, releasing them too late, whatever it might be. A good drill can be to set your wrists quite early in the golf swing and then just hold them in that position, wind up to the top with the body, and then swing through. Something I've definitely done in the past. I know a lot of players good players have done. Some other things to mention at this position: club is a bit more down the line, not quite as laid off as the iron swing we just took a look at, but again, if we look at the body, very athletic position, huge coil and wind up. It looks like he's, you know, that right leg has quite a lot of flex in it, right knee has quite a lot of flex, really pushing into the ground. It looks like, you know, he's creating a lot of power. And as we slowly swing it down, club shaft nicely shallows because he's just turning and rotating so hard. And as we pause it parallel to the ground here, pretty good position. I would kind of relate this swing a little bit similarly to like a Victor Hovland type swing, in that it's very athletic. They don't have a lot of release with the hands and arms. They both actually set the wrists fairly early, get the club a little bit, while Victor gets it more closed and across the line than Sam does. But pretty similar positions. We actually did we took a look at Victor Hovland's swing on my channel, so if you want to see that, check that out on my channel as well. But pretty similar positions, huge rotation here already, and beautiful triangle of daylight between the arms and the body. As we slowly play it down to impact, if we pause it at impact, that is very rotational. That huge amount of rotation there, you know, you'd be struggling really to find more rotation in a golf swing than this on the, well, anywhere in the world. As we slowly play it through after impact, we can see he just holds that face, doesn't really release the hands and arms, keeps the arms and club nicely in front of his body, and again, huge shoulder turn as he gets into his finish position. Let's take a look and play this swing through just a few times at slow motion, and there's a lot to learn here. I love his body positions. You can see how much power he creates as he swings through the ball, and he just holds those wrist positions, and that's one reason why it's going to be a very, very consistent golf swing, and why, you know, Sam is probably going to be a great player for a long time, because there's not that much that can go wrong in this golf swing. It's modern, it's rotational, he keeps great connection with the arms to the body through the ball, and he just rotates and turns hard, and there's not much release of it through the ball. So now we have one more swing to take a look at. This is Sam hitting a long iron, and this is actually at the Charles Schwab, and if we pause it as setup again, not much we haven't already discussed here. Pretty similar to the other two swings. So if we start to play it, and we're going to see Sam does have this little trigger movement as he comes away from the ball, and if we pause it parallel to the ground, good position there, pretty similar to what we've already talked about. Really loading into the ground. If we slowly play it back, we can see that is just such a beautiful position. You know, Butch Harmon, who, if you don't know who Butch Harmon is, one of the probably best golf coaches of all time, coached Tiger Woods, Adam Scott, Brooks Koepka, well, his son really coaches Brooks Koepka, but Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, tons and tons of the world's best players, and one of the best golf coaches of all time. What I've heard Butch talk about, probably almost more than anything else, he also coached Phil Mickelson for most of his career. He talks about more than anything else is creating width at the top of the swing, well, throughout the swing really. Butch likes a lot of width, and what I mean by that, he always talks about at the top of the swing trying to keep the hands as far away as you can from your right ear. Now if you imagine that at the top of the swing, this would be quite close into my right ear. That would be as far away as I kind of can to my right ear. So creating width at the top of the swing, this is something I like to talk about as well, because if you're creating more width, one, you're going to be able to create more power because you're creating a wider swing arc, which means the bigger the circle, if you imagine the golf swing as a circle from front on, the bigger the circle, the faster the outside of the circle is going to be moving, and the more consistently you're going to be able to deliver the low point of the club and have a more consistent angle of attack. And, you know, when Butch was coaching Tiger, if you look back at Tiger's swing, 2002, 2003, even 2004, that is something you notice a lot in Tiger's swing, is how much width he really had. So now as we slowly play the swing down, beautiful shallowing the club, keeps that width though, keeps the club wide not a huge amount of lag or anything like that in this golf swing. If we pause it parallel to the ground, you can actually see from this angle, it's a little bit harder to see from the other angles, but you can see how over the ball his chest is. You can see, you know, he's really covering the ball. And this is something a lot of the best iron players do. Victor Hovland, again, we keep comparing this swing with Victor Hovland, but Victor Hovland's one of the best iron players in the world. And, you know, this is something they both do really, really well. But also bear in mind, I love that connection with the right elbow. Beautiful position there. With that club face matching his spine angle, if we slowly play it to impact. Again, you can see beautifully covering the ball there, really open to the target. Not too much extension really in the hips and back, and kind of doesn't really extend too much until a bit after impact. But really love that position. It's, again, such a modern golf swing. As he slowly swings through, again, bear in mind, not really much release, holds on to the face, and, you know, big shoulder turn to keep the hands and arms in front of the body. So guys, that is Sam Burns' golf swing. You know, let me know what you guys think of that. If there is anything else you guys picked up on in those videos of Sam hitting it, comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and if there's any other golf swings you want to see me take a look at, I'm going to be doing way more of these videos too. And, you know, any other content, we kind of, on this channel, do a bit of a variety of stuff. We play some golf, we have a look at some of the world's best golf swings, analyze them a little bit, keep you guys up to date as well on the latest news in the golf industry as well, and do some product reviews and some other fun stuff as well. So, as always guys, I'll see you in the next video. Give that like button a smash, and as always guys, grip it and rip it.